Hello and welcome, my name is Interjection, and this is the second game in the KönigErik vs snsjack series. They're playing a best of 5 for PK Clan tournament number 4, which is an Asian Dynasties tournament and is the first Asian Dynasties tournament we have actually seen. I'll tell you why that's significant or even relevant in the next game. Sorry, in the next moment, not in the next game. Wow, that would be kind of not relevant at all in the next game. But anyway, we see here KönigErik in the east of the map. He is in green playing as France, and in the previous game he actually played France and won, taking the score to 1-0. So he is leading at the moment. And France, he did play that last game, so if we are following normal PK Clan tournament rules, you would actually not be allowed to play the same civilization that you won with twice in a row. Of course, he won the last game as France, so therefore would not be allowed to play France this time around. He would have to change. But since this is an Asian Dynasties tournament, as I said, the first one, he is allowed to play France twice in a row. In fact, you are allowed to play any European civilization twice in a row. Those rules do not apply to European civilizations. However, they do still apply to war chief civilizations and also civilizations from the Asian dynasty, since by a large chunk of the community, those are considered to be more powerful. Anyway, he has put down a market, getting hunting dogs, very similar to last game. Of course, going to get that nice early hunting bonus early on. We'll switch over to snsjack, who is playing as China again. And before you leave, because you say, oh, I've seen this game, it was the same matchup as last time. Well, it's actually a very interesting game, and I have actually seen this one. Normally, I don't watch them when I cast them, so that I can... it just makes more sense that way. But this one I have seen. And here... Well, anyway, it's an interesting game. But here, he's putting down, of course, he's already got a village, putting down his second village, and has a third village, you might ask. Where the fuck did he get the wood from? Of course, these buildings cost 200 wood each. They support 20 population, so he now has 70 population slots. And you might think, well, one, where did he get the wood from, as I said, and two... why does he need that much population? Well, if you saw the previous game, if you haven't, then click the link in the description, that'll take you to it. As you see, he's sending this card here, Northern Refugees, and gets a free settler from each village. And since this map is Sagwana, you do start with a random economic building. In this case, you have started with a livestock pen. You can start with a market, a plantation, or a mill, but this time a livestock pen. And since China, their livestock pen, well, the building that performs the same function as a livestock pen is a village. This village shares the same function as a house and a livestock pen, so they start with an extra 1, and that's just perfect for China, since, of course, that card gives them the settler. Absolutely perfect, this map, and really benefiting here from playing on Sagwana. Of course, this map has water on it as well, so we might see players taking the ocean, which is always fun. But before we get onto the map discussion and the civilizations on it, and whether or not they might take the water, we're going to look at this here, and you could call it sloppy, but it is very easily done. And KönigErik getting his explorer into hand combat by mistake with the Chinese monk. And of course, you know, European civilizations, their explorers are, well, they're all the same stats and hit points, whatever you want to call it, but, you know, the Asian ones, they do have different stats, and this Chinese explorer, very strong, much stronger than, of course, a European explorer, and for that reason, it's going to go down. He's going to lose his explorer, which is not good. Of course, you want that for scouting, also treasure collecting, and if it dies, your opponent gets 45 XP, which of course contributes towards their shipments. It's not good at all. So you could call it sloppy, as I said, but easily done, easily done. Anyway, just thought I'd point out that since the Chinese explorer is stronger, you get, well, 90 experience points for killing it. Here, though, we see KönigErik attacking the polar bear. He wants Mother Nature to kill him. If you've seen or played League of Legends, you will know that if you kill a minion, the person who gets the last hit on it, of course, receives the coins. I myself tried League of Legends. I don't really enjoy it, and I tried to get into it because my friends were playing it, but honestly, this is why I'm still playing Age of Empires 3. I just did not enjoy League of Legends, and I'm sorry if I've offended anyone. Anyway, the League of Legends, why I brought that up is because he killed Mother Nature. Oh, well, he attacked Mother Nature, and Mother Nature killed the Explorer. So Mother Nature actually received the experience points there. So he's kind of stopping his opponent from getting that, which is very nice. And now, I imagine we'll just see snsjack waddle around the map with his Chinese Kung Fu monk and this BS minion, trying to grab himself this, of course, Iroquois Tomahawk. He'll probably go over here, grab himself 2 sheep. The point, you know, killing the rifleman, killing the explorer, sorry, the treasure guardians is a very nice way of generating XP, and it's very easy to do if you have this strong monk and also an Iroquois tomahawk and a disciple. Of course, you get discipled sometimes when you kill units, I believe. I might be wrong anyway. My knowledge of China isn't great. I did say that in my previous video. Anyway, we'll switch over to KönigErik. Here he is, clicking up with 400 wood. Very similar build to last time. I imagine we'll see him put down a barracks and a stable, just like last time, and send 700 wood, just like last time, and get steel traps at the market, just like last time. There it is. Anyway, we'll switch over to snsjack, because if you've seen game 1, you know what's going to happen here from the French player. A very standard build. Anyway, we'll flick over to snsjack, and what is different, this game is a very nice game, at least for, well, one player in particular. It is, of course, a different outcome, though very similar styles played, and you'll see how it kind of turns out. I think you'll be surprised. It is nice, and here we see, of course, the town centre has, well, 700 coin will arrive at that town centre, because, of course, the Chinese player's first home city shipment in the colonial age was 700 coin. Going for what is a naked, fast fortress, he's collected nothing but food during transition. Obviously, went up at the Summer Palace, which creates units, but also you receive, I believe, 500 food, or is it 400? As I said, my knowledge of China, not that great. With that food, sorry, with that coin he's just shipped, he's going to click up to the next age very, very quickly. And we'll see what time he does get up. But this, to me, seems like a more standard build. It seems like a stronger build. I don't know what if he did last time was a standard build. Of course, he sent, was it 9 Quang pikemen and did some BS, like, kind of aggression, which really didn't work out for him in the end. Perhaps he did something wrong. I'm not actually sure. I imagine as my, I'm gonna make a point to play India and China. And I'm gonna get good with these civilizations so that my commentary can be 100% accurate. I think it is accurate, very accurate at the moment, but of course, just the issue here is sometimes I think my comments could be more insightful. You know, whilst I give you a good bird's eye perspective and I tell you why he's doing this and for what reasons, I might not be able to kind of predict or be as interesting. I don't know, it's not the point. But anyway, 700 wood, very standard fast fortress here. Going to use that wood to, of course, put up any villages for the population slots he might need, but also going to add in a war academy where he'll train units, and also a consulate, because, of course, you can ally yourself with European nations for some very nice benefits. Losing a settler there, not sure if it's going forward to become a forward settler and perhaps build a forward war academy. But of course, losing it, getting a little bit lucky there. KönigErik will switch over to him, and I'll briefly check his shipment. 700 wood first. 4 Carreras coming out now. Looks like he hasn't trained any musketeers. There's 1 in production there. Has cavalry in production. He's trained 4 cavalry, splitting them into groups of 2 here. Going to get some raiding done. Of course, this was the first kind of military he's building. Looking to get some economy damage over here. Is he going to be able to kill any settlers? Of course, trying, and at least pushing his opponents, what the fuck, his opponents' settlers into the town centre to kind of waste some gather time here. So, in the previous game, the previous commentary, I did mention what I think the players can do and how it's going to work out for them. And clearly, we see snsjack going for the, of course, naked fast fortress. China is one hell of a powerhouse in the fortress age, very powerful civilization. And this is why in the previous game I was surprised it ended so soon. I thought China could get there and do absolutely fine. As you can see here, clicking up with 8 arquebusiers. For, you know, just for reaching the next stage, of course, going through the Confucius Academy. Now, this will also train a free flying crow every now and again when that brood bar goes all the way round. And, of course, flying crows are artillery units similar to falconets, though I think the flying crow is better, judging only by the fact that it costs 7 population, whereas a falconet costs 5. I might be wrong. I can't actually remember the stats of a flying crow. Now putting up the War Academy. I believe that is slightly late, but not to worry too much. We see more raids coming in from this guy here. And I said China is, you know, a powerhouse in the Fortress Age. He's, by the looks of it, building a consulate. Now sending intervention, sends a shipment of units from his consulates. We'll see which civilization he chooses, well, which nation he chooses to ally himself. But going to have a very large mass, a very strong mass, very, very quickly. And he's going to be able to put a lot of damage later on, and has all of these unit shipments coming to back him up. What I find interesting, though, is he hasn't built a trading post, so the shipments will not be as frequent. Though I'm not sure if that's something to do with the way China is played in the Fortress Age. I guess we'll find out over time as I become better and am able to cast. Or perhaps you already know because you are better than me. But anyway, here we see... was it 9 Redcoat Musketeers from the Divine Intervention. Of course, he allied himself with the British. But we'll switch over to KönigErik now. And König going up with the Exiled Prince, of course. Just trained a few cavalry, got some raiding done. Hasn't built any Musketeers. And, you know, just sent, of course... 3 settlers in the first stage, followed by 700 wood, then 4 settlers, and then says nothing else, just collected resources and just went up to the fortress age with his economy. Of course, used the exiled prince to get there very quickly. Does not receive any bonus because since he used that particular politician who gets you there quickly, but going to get up, you know, super quick, as I keep saying, and now he's in this fortress age at, I guess, a similar time to you know, snsjack, not quite the same time, though, you know, Konig's going to have a better economy due to, of course, the fact that he sent the 4 settler shipment, you know, went with that early market and stuff. The Chinese player's economy isn't going to be so great, but he did get there a lot more quickly and is going to have this unit spam going. So what we're seeing here is, of course, Konig not having quite as many units, but since he did hit the fortress age slightly later, those shipments will catch up eventually. Here we see a decent amount of skirmishes, and hopefully now his economy, since we did, you know, he made that a point of that, get the 4 settler shipment, got the market upgrades, hopefully that economy will come into play, and he'll be able to train the units which he otherwise isn't going to be receiving from the shipment spams. And it'll be a fairly even game that way, of course, at least that's the way you'd like to think about it. But we'll switch over to snsjack, turn the fog of war, doing a little bit of raiding here, of course. He has sent, I believe, 11, well, he's sending 11 Changdango swordsmen, I hope I said that correctly, as his next shipment. Of course, training, I forget, is it like the Forbidden Army? Yeah, no, Territorial Army, well, okay, so training the Territorial Army, which gives you 3 Changdao and 3 Arquebusiers. Now, Changdaos are swordsmen. They are essentially very strong anti-cavalry as a hand unit. I guess you could kind of think of it as a Doppelstodner without the area damage. And then also has been training what I believe was the Forbidden Army. Gives you meteor hammers and disciplined iron flails, which are very, you know, of course, decent cavalry units here. So the cavalry are going to do very good damage against these skirmishes, and there just doesn't appear to be enough dragoons there to kind of counter it. Of course, dragoons are a hard counter to cavalry, and if he had a few more, this would be no problem, but of course, getting slowed down by the cavalry, can't get the skirmishers to escape as quickly, meaning all of these ranged units are going to walk forwards and just pick these skirmishers off. We'll switch over to KönigErik and see what's on the way. A few more dragoons from the stable and training, well, sending 5 dragoons from his home city, and if perhaps he just kept those skirmishers in his base, then he wouldn't have been in that problem. Of course, the skirmishers would have still been alive then, and once those extra dragoons here, these ones coming out from the home city, well, from the stable there, and the ones from the home city, he would have been okay, and that unit mass would still be alive, and he just wouldn't be in this problem. But now it looks very, very ugly. Of course, 143 score to snsjack, 113 to KönigErik, and you have to remember in Age of Empires 3, 100 resources on the map is 1 score, so you can kind of tell how many kind of resources have been fielded and how well or badly the units have been either microed or lost by mistake, whatever. But here we see KönigErik going for a last push. Hopefully, if he can push this guy out of his base, then he can get back on track and start building his economy again. Of course, the settlers soak up a lot of damage. They have a 40% ranged resist. They have a huge amount of hit points. Doesn't have the HP upgrade, but still fighting here. Balls deep, YOLO. Of course, purple going to be focusing down the military units, because if you're attacking the settlers, they have, you know, they're going to sponge up a lot of damage, and you're going to lose your calling the GG again. Wow. Okay, so honestly, wasn't expecting that one to end as quickly as it did either, but as I was saying, he was using, of course, his units to focus down the military units, get them down first, since those do the most damage, and then move on to the settlers afterwards, since, of course, if you were attacking the settlers, they'd sponge up a lot of damage, and then if KönigErik was given that opportunity, he might be able to get back into the game, but just being overwhelmed here, and as I said, losing those skirmishers out over here, not too good. Perhaps if he kept them in his base, he'd definitely be in a better position, but that is the end of the game. snsjack taking it back to 1-1. The next game will be played on Siberia. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.